Welcome back, people. It's your friendly neighborhood Dragonslayer here, bringing you the latest on TV, movies, and sometimes gaming. Before we begin today's topic, I just want to say that if you enjoyed this video, then please like, share, subscribe, and turn on all the notifications to see more. It's only a few seconds of clicking for you, but for me it means the world if I was able to entertain you. Also, leave a comment down below letting me know what your reactions were to this video, as I will try to respond to as many of your comments as I can. And who knows, I might just post the top comments I found interesting or funny in the next one. So, this episode has actually 3 arcs. It's the Numenor, Southlands, and the Khazad-Dum Arc. Plus, the episode is still using the same monotonous formula of curing the world from insomnia, so be prepared for that. Also, this review series will contain spoilers, so you have been warned. Now, let's get started, shall we?
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
So we begin with Miriel doing a celebration of the births of various babies of Numenorian nobility when it gets interrupted by a sudden tremor that scares the noble women in attendance. Miriel then says not to worry about it because sometimes their island needs to stretch a little bit just like the baby she is holding, which is so far the dumbest line I've heard in this show. The earthquake then resumes and she looks out in front of the Hall of Kings with a strong poker face to see the leaves of Nimloth falling, and then she notices this massive wave breaking and swallowing Numenor whole before she herself gets drowned in its wake. Now, don't get your hopes up, guys. She wakes up to let us know that it was all a dream.
Gotcha, bitch!
But we book readers already know that her vision is what ends up happening later on in the downfall of Numenor.
Fucking wrong! What the fuck is going on?
And we also get a scene of the guildman Halbro beat up in episode 3, acting like a sore loser by giving a speech to the people in the town square that basically is summed up like this. The elf is whispering poison in our queen's ear, while her low man filth gets to wander around unpunished. Who spake for us when the elf ships start arriving on our shores? Who spakes for us when elves who don't sleep, tire, or age start taking our jobs? Soon they'll even take our lands and our women for good measure. I say the queen's either blind or she's a filthy elf lover. Then the crowd starts to shout the word elf lover like it's a 1950s KKK rally. And then Grand Wizard R. Farazan arrives to defuse the situation by giving a speech that would make Fidel Castro shed a tear of joy.
Men of Numenor, or a gaggle of mewling children. We are sons and daughters of the Edain, of Elros Tar-Miniatur, whose host conquered Morgoth himself. But now one elf, a castaway, could threaten us. Look down at each of you, the gill crests you bear, the heritage of mighty hands, of men who laid the sea wall, who raised our Menelaus, triumph of our civilization. But now one elf could threaten us. My friends, trust in me. For by the calluses on my hands, I swear that elven hands will never take Numenor's helm. She will remain, as always, a kingdom of men.
And he then gives the crowd free drinks to win over their favor, and then people start chanting his name with intensity, like he is Che Guevara for some reason.
Coincidence? I think not.
Miriel is then shown evidence of Sauron's mark by Galadriel and Elendil, but she feels very insulted that Galadriel dared to break her edict by leaving the palace grounds without permission while Halbro assaulted her citizens. Galadriel doesn't apologize for her actions, but instead says the excuse that Halbro was quick to temper due to his people dying in the Southlands. Miriel asks what Galadriel means by his people, and she lets her know that Halbro is not the man they think he is, but that he's actually the lost heir to the throne of the Southlands.
No shit.
Miriel obviously doesn't believe this, and Galadriel tries to convince her by saying that Halbro's people are scattered and leaderless, but with her backing, can become united under Halbro's banner. Furthermore, she tells Miriel that Sauron was once your people's enemy as much as mine, and she also calls on her to rekindle the alliance between Numenor and the elves to end his threat once and for all before he can conquer the Southlands. Now, what do you think Miriel's reaction to all of this was?
Who gives a
She further emphasizes this point by saying that Numenor has chosen a different path, and Galadriel claps back by saying not all of Numenor follows the same path, alluding to the faithful Numenorians. Regardless, Tarmiriel says that no matter what Halbro's lineage is, she will punish him for his crime, and starts to walk away when this hilarious sitcom scene happens.
Then I have little choice but to ask for another. One with Numenor's true ruler. Your father, the king. You should not speak of matters you do not understand, Galadriel, daughter of Finarfin. And you should stand aside, that I might present my proposal to one who holds the authority to answer it.
Lady Galadriel, that is quite
And with
enough.
what authority do you speak, Elf? That of your people? Or are you a castaway, grasping for a handhold in a tempest? There is a tempest in me.
You serious?
It swept me to this island for a reason, and it will not be quelled by you, Regent.
Halbro then makes fun of her by asking her what got her into prison, and she answers with sedition. And then we kinda move a little bit forward in time, where we cut to a pointless 2-minute scene of finding out Isildur deliberately failed his exam after hearing a voice in the west call his name. He got his poor buddies expelled with him as a bonus, and got into a fight with one of them, where he tells Isildur that the reason he's failing at life is because he doesn't like to commit to anything. We then see Galadriel pacing back and forth like Darth Maul in frustration, while Qui-Gon Halbro gives her advice that she will never get anywhere with the Queen if she keeps charging at every problem like she does with orcs and trolls. Galadriel gets very offended at Halbro by saying to him that she doesn't need instruction in the art of war, and he says that that isn't what he was trying to say. But he also mentions that the Queen's court isn't exactly her usual battlefield, and she then decides, out of nowhere, to listen to him. Halbro then tells her that the only way to beat your opponent is by identifying what they fear the most and giving them a means to mastering that fear so that you can master them in turn. Galadriel then says that by his standards, the reason she is in her cell is because she hasn't identified, what the Queen's fear is, and Halbro says that by his low standards, she is correct in that assumption. She then gets snappy at him and says, "So you were able to figure it out in the short time you met her?" And he says that he did, but that all the strategies he came up with went to shit when she managed to, in a short time, insult Tarmiriel's people, demand her to provide Galadriel with a ship back to Middle-earth, and defied her orders to stay in the capital, none of which made her react differently.
You suck!
Halbro then says that whatever she told Tarmiriel, it was good enough to throw her in a cell. And Galadriel tells him that the Queen reacted that way when she demanded to speak with the king in the tower, which no one has seen in years. Halbro then congratulates her for using 2 of her brain cells, but as she starts to bicker with him, Ar-Pharazôn comes in to inform Galadriel that the Queen rendered her decision to keep her imprisoned. Instead, she will be shipped back to the Elves of Lindon under armed escort.
Not a great plan.
And then this tiny, skinny woman somehow proceeds to shove 4 fully armed, tall Numenorian royal guards into her cell, locks them in it, and then starts to leave. It's like she gained the strength of a 6'4" fit woman out of nowhere, but I must be imagining things, guys.
Emotional, damn it!
Meanwhile, Ar-Pharazôn just lets it all happen because Halbro advises him that where she's going will benefit him in the long run. And then he proceeds to sheath his sword like the good old white man that he is. Am I right, Amazon?
You're goddamn right.
We then get another pointless screen time filler scene of Isildur talking to his made-up sister about how he got himself and his friends kicked off the Sea Guard. Well, we finally get a second depiction of an actual Middle-earth elf in the show. We also then see Galadriel Auditore da Firenze climbing this fucking huge-ass tower, breaking the chamber window to get inside, and then walks inside like the impudent woman she is to talk to the king when she is unexpectedly confronted by Tar Miriel, who tells her Dumbledore can't speak to anyone anymore.
Why not, you stupid bastard?
Galadriel, then giving zero fucks as usual, proceeds to ask Tar Miriel how she knew about her plan to get into the tower chamber, and the only answer she gets from her is that there is a garrison of troops waiting outside to escort her to the ship. She further recommends Galadriel to take her offer and leave before things get any worse, but is interrupted when her father starts coughing and calling her name. And for once in her existence on the show, Galadriel actually feels bad for being an asshole.
Excuse me, what?
She then asks Tar Miriel why she's not loyal to the elvish ways, and we get this long exposition that basically boils down to, my dad tried to revert Numenor back to its old ways because after his coronation, the Palantir showed him a terrible future for Numenor if we keep going down our current wicked path. And when he tried to do this, a big rebellion popped up, where I became Queen Regent in his stead to keep the peace, but Dad showed me on my first night what caused him to change so much. And she then shows Galadriel, the master of Palantir of Numenor, and tells her to touch it, so she can see what she saw. And it's basically Galadriel seeing the same thing Tar Miriel saw in the beginning of the episode, which terrifies her a lot. And Tar Miriel says the vision begins with her arriving on Numenor. And Galadriel says that the visions Palantiri show you are just of possible events that could happen.
Here I come. Oh, here I come. Oh.
However, Tar Miriel then says the only thing that can take down Numenor is itself, and that the Valar gifted them their island in a time of virtue, but they can take it away should they turn to wickedness. Which Galadriel says that virtue she speaks of was their ancestors' loyalty to the elves. Tar Miriel then says that that belief is what drove her father to nearly destroying Numenor, and that's why she's going to make sure she boards that ship to prevent it from happening again. Look, I don't want to suspend your disbelief anymore, but at the end of the day, Galadriel boards the boat, Tar Miriel and other Numenorians see the leaves of Nimloth blowing in shock, she gives a sappy speech to her people about having faith, and then they show Galadriel in her throne room where the queen declares that Numenor will send an expedition to the Southlands to put an end to the orc threat there. Also, Isildur and his friends enlist in the volunteer army, and that's where the Numenor Arc ends.
FBI, open up!
So we time warp several months ahead to see the giant forge in Eregion almost completed, and Elrond makes a comment to Celebrimbor that it amazes him to see elves and dwarves work together on a project of such scale. Then Elrond asks Celebrimbor why he's looking at him strangely, and he says he reminds him of his father Earendil before he set sail to Valinor with one of the Silmarils to beg the Valar for help against Morgoth, which is something that no non-book reader will understand at all.
What?
He also says that he told him casually one day that his fate would end up being in the hands of his son. Elrond then asks Celebrimbor what's troubling him, and he tells him that Durin's been acting strangely toward him, like he's hiding something from him. Elrond then goes to Durin's home and asks Disa where Durin is, but she asks him if he's spoken to his work teams first, to which he says he has, but that none of them want to tell him anything, and he considers it very suspicious. We then get Disa making a corny line of, "You don't think he's cheating on me, do you?" To which Elrond says that's not what he was referring to. We then get a scene where Durin's kids are singing a random song and Disa berates them while the camera never shows us their faces for some reason. And Elrond notices that one of Durin's tools for mining quartz are still in the rack, And then we get a shot of some intentional thick pork chops.
Get in my belly! Come on!
As Disa apologizes to him for her kids misbehaving. He then questions her why Durin would leave one of his essential tools behind and why she is preparing his favorite meal if he's going to be gone for 2 days. She then gives a made-up excuse to throw Elrond off and asks Elrond if he wanted to know anything else, to which he says no. It then cuts to Durin congratulating Disa for being able to throw off Elrond about what's going on, and he tells her they're making good progress in the old mine below Mirror Lake. Unfortunately for them, they seem to have forgotten that elves have incredibly good eyesight and hearing, because Elrond was able to hear it all from far away and proceeds to go there. He notices a wall where a draft of air is passing below, which he assumes is a secret door, and is trying to figure out how to get in until he takes a shot in the dark and starts tapping the wall in the rhythm of the song Durin's kids were singing in earlier, and the door somehow opens.
Disappointed!
And I swear I didn't make that shit up, guys. This is just what happens. It then shows Elrond walking into the secret room where he sees ore veins of a bright silver metal, and then Durin walks in accusing Elrond of spying on him to steal their precious metal. However, Elrond tells him he has no idea what Durin is talking about, and he doesn't believe him at first. But Elrond tells him that he doesn't care about the ore in the chamber. In fact, he only came this way because he didn't like the fact his friend was keeping secrets from him. And then Durin relents by telling him he must swear an oath of secrecy that he will never speak of what he sees in the chamber, to which Elrond agrees to. He then tells him that Disa detected this metal first during one of her gold-seeming surveys, and that they eventually found out it was the most precious metal on Middle-earth called mithril.
Oh, there's a big surprise! That's an incredible... I think I'm gonna have a heart attack and die from that surprise!
Elrond then asks him why they didn't celebrate such a discovery, to which he answers because it's a very dangerous metal to mine due to how deep they must delve, and he also says his father is restricting his mining operation. Elrond then gets a closer look at the mithril nugget, and Durin asks him if he really came all this way just for Eregion, and Elrond says that he came because he wanted to visit his friend who he hasn't seen for 20 years.
Because I know, somewhere deep down in my heart, I still love you.
Touched by this, Durin tells Elrond to keep the mithril nugget, and then the tunnel he was mining in collapses, trapping 4 of his miners inside. We then see Disa conducting a ritual ceremony for the miners, to which Elrond asks what the purpose of it was, and she tells him it was a plea to the rocks to release the bodies of the miners with breath still inside them.
No. Wait. Wait.
She also thanks him for saving her husband's life, and Durin then bursts in to let everyone know that all the miners are actually alive.
Oh, come on!
However, he is very angry because his father just shut down his entire operation and sealed off the ore vein. Elrond calms him down by reminding him that he should spend every moment of his life being thankful that he can be with his father because he never had the chance to do so with his. He then tells him that he would take any judgment of it, meaning if he was able to spend a little bit more time with his old man.
You're a fucking dumbass.
And look, I'm not gonna lie, this is actually one of the very few good scenes this show has, where I felt pleasantly surprised after being stranded in boredom hell for 55 minutes. Anyway, Durin thanks Elrond for his advice, and he proceeds to go to the throne room where he makes up with his dad, who's actually one of the few characters I like in this show because of the acting, even if his very presence breaks the lore of Durin in many ways.
Well, shit!
But Durin III then recommends his son to go to Lindon to find out the true reason why High King Gil-galad sent clueless Elrond to Eregion to establish relations with the dwarves in the first place. which we already know why, because they showed it to us 25 minutes ago. But with that, we end the Khazad-Dum Arc.
We're all gonna die together out here. He shouldn't have come here.
So we pick up where we left off in episode 3 with Arondir lifting his face up to see all these orcs looking at him like they're posing for a magazine photo shoot. And then one of the orcs in the group lets the dying orc overseer Magrot know that Adar is here. And we then see a shot of orcs bowing to a dark-haired figure with a black right gauntlet passing by them, and we are then shown what he actually looks like, which is the third elf that actually looks like one from Middle-earth in this show, guys.
Oh my god! Wow!
And his face looks very scarred, and he comforts the orc in his last moments and proceeds to end his misery by stabbing him in the kidney. And then the orcs start chanting as they take away the overseer's body, which leaves Arondir very confused. Adar then asks Arondir in Quenya where he was born, and he tells him he was born in Beleriand. Adar then monologues about how beautiful that part of Beleriand was before evil came into the picture, and Arondir asks him afterwards why the orcs call him father, to which Adar doesn't really give him an answer to. Instead, he just tells Arondir that he has been told many lies about Middle-earth, to the point that even the very rocks and roots of the earth believed them. And the only way the sickness could be cured would be if the entire world was destroyed and remade. Now, for all of you normies that don't understand what he is saying because the showrunners obviously don't care about you, I'll link this video down below from YouTuber The Red Book that explains it all in detail. After Adar tells Arondir the shocking revelation that he still doesn't understand, he tells him he will let him go so he can send a message to the humans seeking shelter in the watchtower. We are then shown a shot of people arriving in the tower, and we find out that all the people from the outlying villages have also joined in as well. However, it is made clear right away that they're running out of food, and Bronwyn is trying to keep everyone together, but the old white men really don't like the idea of a young, strong female overseeing this posse.
I think I can smell shite.
Anyway, they're running out of ideas to get more food, and Theo proposes that a small party gets sent out to their small town so they can quickly snatch provisions from the innkeeper's cellar. However, no one wants to do it, so Theo says he will do it. But Bronwyn is not having any of that. Regardless, Theo disobeys his mother and takes Courage, the cowardly Easterling, with him to collect provisions. And as they are leaving the village, after gathering everything, Theo tells his friend to wait a second so he can gather more provisions from the inn. Theo then goes inside to collect some grains, and as he is doing this, the clouds cover the sun, which causes his friend to immediately run away in fear, leaving him behind.
Asshole!
Shortly thereafter, Theo gets ambushed by an orc who for some reason is bad at killing teenage villagers and loves young blood, which is kind of creepy. However, he surprises the orc by using the dark blade from episode 2 to cut the orc a bit before running out the door as the sun is coming back out. The orc, seeing the light, then decides to comically cover his face like he is Dracula before running out of the door, and he fails to find Theo because he was hiding down a well for what I assume was many hours. Moving forward a bit, we see his cowardly friend returning with all the provisions and lies to everyone that Theo said he would be right behind him. Meanwhile, Theo is performing a Resident Evil 2 stealth section to avoid being detected by the orcs, while still carrying provisions. But he gets his ass caught by the same creepy orc that attacked him earlier, who is about to kill him until he gets stabbed and decapitated at the last moment by Arondir. He then tells Theo to take his hand because they are coming. We are then shown a dramatic scene of Theo and Arondir running away from the orcs in slow motion, where our elf performs the most superhuman feat I have ever seen. He kicks a limping child into the ground so that an arrow doesn't hit him instead of pulling him to the side, and he proceeds to catch another arrow mid-flight just before it shoots Theo in the back, to which he shoots back at the orc bowman. Guys, Elves are very powerful and surreal beings in this universe, but they can't defy gravity, so Amazon, could you please stop with this BS already? The fandom already had to put up with Legolas defying gravity in The Hobbit, and we don't want any more of this shit. Anyway, Theo gets up and Arondir tells him to run while shooting at orcs, and he notices that his mother somehow found them without ever giving the audience any explanation as to how it happened.
What the fuck?
But that doesn't matter because they gotta haul ass into the field where they're about to make their last stand. And the orcs are about to come out and attack them, but are deterred in their pursuit by the rising sun covering the entire valley our trio is in. Furthermore, the orcs think the only thing they can do is curse at them because the sun is out, and for some reason, they don't think they can use their common sense by shooting the trio with their archers still in the shade.
He's just standing there, menacingly.
I mean, they're standing still, so they're prime targets, but they eventually end up shooting at the trio after they start moving. Look, I know orcs aren't exactly bright, but they're not this dumb, Amazon. Regardless, our trio makes it out of that ordeal in time to make some Amazon Prime deliveries. We then see Bronwyn and Erendir getting all lovey-dovey until he tells her Adar's message, which is basically, submit to me and live, or die defying me.
Oh no. Anyway.
Which leads to Arondir also letting Bronwyn know that Adar is coming for the Tower of Ostidith. We also see Theo looking inside his bag to try to find the Black Blade until the old innkeeper throws a bottle of something at him, telling him he deserves it after having the balls to risk his life to help everyone out. And the old man tells him to take the bottle just like he took his Black Blade from his barn, to which Theo pretends to not know what he's talking about. However, the man tells him to stop lying because he knows exactly what he's talking about, and he shows him his own blade mark as well. He then grabs Theo's hand and starts going on a tirade of, do you know what this blade is all about? Better yet, have you heard of the good news of Sauron, my boy? He was once lost, but soon he shall rise again. Theo then pulls his hand back, and the old man lets him know that the starfall is actually a sign of his return, and that both of them should prepare themselves for when the time comes. We then see Adar watching his warg eat someone's hand in a family-friendly way until he is interrupted by one of his orcs that report to him that they actually found the sword and that it's actually in the tower. And with that ends the final arc of this show.
And now for something completely different.
Why are you running? Why are you running?
Number 1. Tar Miriel never had a vision of Numenor's destruction. By showing this vision to her, the show breaks the surprise book readers and show viewers would eventually have when they learned that Eru Iluvatar, being very enraged at Numenor's sacrilege to invade Valinor, sank the island of Numenor suddenly as punishment for their wickedness. It was so sudden, in fact, that the only way Elendil and his faithful were able to get away in time was because a sudden mighty wind swept their 9 ships eastward into Middle-earth, most likely conjured up by the ruler of the Valar himself, Manwë. And number 2, the Palantiri, or Seeing Stones, didn't have the ability to see into the future. They were seeing stones that, if used by the individuals with powerful wills, could allow them to communicate with other Seeing Stones and their users, plus see virtually any part of the world as a form of surveillance. But it was a very mentally taxing process, so only Numenorian royalty, their descendants, or specifically assigned personnel could use them. Also, very wise and powerful elves, plus beings like Sauron, could use them as well. Number 3. Elves at this time in the show didn't walk around in Numenor, because most Numenorians were becoming resentful to the Oath of the Valar and of elves' immortality, and as a result, they became more distant towards elves. It wasn't until Ar-Pharazôn took power and started taking Sauron's advice that they started to actively persecute them and any of the faithful, to the point where they only felt safe when the faithful took them in secret in their westernmost lands. So this whole thing of elves taking our chips is a load of BS. Number 4. Isildur never heard a whispering voice telling him to sail west to Valinor. This whole thing is actually completely made up by the show because he was actually one of the faithful in the lore, and not a single member of the faithful would ever think of doing such sacrilege.
It's all there
black and white, clear as crystal. You get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
Number 5. Elrond never became friends with Durin IV. Unfortunately for show viewers, I have to inform you that this was all made up by the show in order to steal Celebrimbor and his people's achievements of becoming dear friends with the dwarves of Khazad-Dum.
Oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
In fact, their friendship with the dwarves was so strong that in the Western Gate, Celebrimbor worked with the great dwarven craftsman Narvi to commemorate this friendship by creating the Doors of Durin that you see in the Fellowship of the Ring. So with that out of the way, my rating for this episode is a 3 out of 10, and it's mostly because we got to see more of Khazad-Dum, plus Adar showing up was a great addition to the show, but I honestly wish his appearance was more twisted than one we got, because he's supposed to be either a former elf thrall of Morgoth, or one of the elves who were twisted by Morgoth to become the first orcs. However, I can't say anything else good about this show, or the episode in general, that you haven't heard from my previous videos, so I'm gonna say this, guys. If you have a buddy that's having a hard time sleeping, show him this episode and he'll fall on his bed like a log.
Nice.
With that, my friends, Namarie.